In this video, you'll learn some quick tips on how to pressure wash your deck properly. Now, sometimes your deck might be stained in a way that you only need to use something like Dawn and or OxyClean and a brush to get rid of the stains. But in our case, we started with that. We got a lot of the really bad stains out, and then we went ahead and used a pressure washer to get the rest of the grime. This is a great thing to do before you stain your deck, or if you're not staining your deck, which is highly recommended, then you just want to do this for each season to keep your deck looking good and to keep all of the debris from breaking it down and destroying it. So before you start pressure washing, you want to get a nice brush with a handle at the end, OxyClean, a bucket of water, and some Dawn possibly to use. And with this, you'll just scrub out some of the really bad areas. The average time that it would take for something like this is a couple of hours, and that's including going to the store. Of course, this all depends on how large your deck is. For ours, it's a 20 by 30, so it's about 600 square feet. And then if you don't own a pressure washer, then you'll want to rent one. A lot of times a pressure washer will run for, say, $129 for the weekend. Pro tip is if you go to a local hardware store that rents out equipment, go on a Saturday morning, because a lot of times they're closed on Sundays. So you'll only have to pay for one day, but you actually get it 2 days, and then you'll have to return it that following Monday morning. Now, when you're using the pressure washer, you want to be careful with the tip and the pressure. If you get too close, or if you have more of a jet tip, then that can definitely dig up and dig into the grain of the wood. So you'll want to do a fanning mechanism and sweeping it back and forth. The great thing about most of the pressure washers is they are color coded, so you'll usually know which one you'll want to get. Make sure you're using the fan or rotating tips and stay away from any of the jet ones. When you're actually using the pressure washer, the important part about doing it is keeping an even distance from when you're using it to when you're cleaning the deck. So you want to keep that same distance even when you're sweeping back and forth. That way it's holding the same amount of pressure all throughout. And as I said before, you know that you're getting a little bit too close if your wood starts to look a little fuzzy. So be mindful of that. Just think about it this way. Your ultimate goal is to get the grime that's sitting on top of the deck and not really touching the deck if you can. So for that, you'll want to keep your PSI less than 1200. And usually the sweet spot will be between 500 and 700 PSI for something like a deck. And once you're finished with the power washing part, again, if there are some areas that might need a little bit more scrubbing, then go ahead and take your scrubby and the OxyClean and go ahead and scrub that area a little bit more and see if you can get it up. The hardest part about when you're pressure washing is because it's wet, it's a little bit more tricky to see how clean it is. So you may have to let it dry out to see some areas that might need touch up. And then finally, once you're done and once it's dry, you can look and see if there are any areas that might need to be sanded down where maybe you got a little bit too close and you see a little bit of fuzziness. That would be a good area to sand down a little bit. And now your deck is ready for staining or painting, which we did as well. And you can see that in the next video here.